Hello, guys. So, one of the things that I did today was I started my first job, permanent job, out of college. I was struggling for roughly a year to find any sort of permanent employment. So, I graduated from college with a BS in chemistry um, back in May of 2018. Sorry if I'm a little scatterbrained. I'm driving home right now. But yeah, so I started temping at a pretty big coding company, also a company where my father worked at. So I temped there for about 8 months, and all during the while I interviewed at about 10 different companies with 16 interviews total. Um, so it was kind of long-winded and draining, and definitely gave me an ego check in that sense. Um, they never tell you in college that there's a possibility that you're not going to come out with a job right away. Luckily, I worked weekends at the Cheesecake Factory, and I was able to pay off all of my college debt while I was in school. Um, but also, I lived at home with my parents, so I had a pretty good support structure. So I know there's some of my friends, they're not living at home. They didn't have the same support structure as me. So um, yeah, hats off to anybody who is doing that and doesn't have the option to stay at home. But anyways, the whole point of what I'm doing here is I'm just going to be uploading probably about 25, 30-minute videos to this YouTube channel. The channel is I think it's Gen Z Think, Gen Z Talk. So the whole point of starting this channel and uploading these podcasts, or whatever you want to call it, audio files, I just want to give sort of a perspective of life from a person who just recently graduated from college, and how maybe um, maybe the focus points will be kind of small world at first. I might only talk about things going on at my job, things going on, in my personal life. I have a very close friend that is a girl. We dated and we fought a lot with each other. Um, but one of the reasons why I, kept talking to her is because I really thought that we had similar values. She came from a pretty terrible family all around. Her family was very abusive to her, both physically and mentally. Um, her and her two siblings really struggled to form relationships and communication. Um, Although she'd probably say the same thing about me, but one of the other things is that she has a learning disability, which I was initially worried about. That was one of the things that was in the back of my mind. The her conversations really revolved around gossip, or oh, somebody said this that was mean to me. Screw them. And I was, and to me, it's just like it's just something that I didn't want to talk about all the time. But me being a Christian, that was one of the things that I thought could really change her life, sharing the gospel with her. And one of the things that I always wondered about was, how am I going to communicate to her, um, such a, for me even, such an abstract concept of, there is this sovereign being who is Lord of all creation. He holds all the keys to any door, um, any possibility, any opportunity that you could ever come across in life. Um, so it's like that. That was something that I really struggled to convey to her. It's like, okay, probably shouldn't, like, for example, like fighting with coworkers or, um, you know, uh, just having very, very short patience for other people. That was just something that I found wasn't wasn't really going to help her. Not only if we didn't work out, but I'm telling her, I'm like, listen, like I can put up with a lot, but there's certain things that over time that I can't put up with. So I explained to her, some of the behaviors that needed to change and why they should change. If you want to go to heaven, um, and being a follower of Christ and all that stuff. And I prayed on it, and it also was pretty amazing because I've been trying to get back into not even get back into. I wanted to after graduating college. I felt like there's a million things that I could be doing with my life, and I sort of tried graduate school, and it just wasn't for me. I stress over the littlest things, and there's a lot of little things that you need to take care of in graduate school, whether it's making your coming from the chemistry side of things, your private investigator happy. You also have to deal with other students that are researching, and there's always fighting for instrument time and advancing projects forward with whatever um, companies or hospitals that you're working with. And for me, it was just too stressful. I was a bit of a perfectionist in college. I felt like I needed to achieve everything all at once, and ultimately it just left me burnt out. And uh, you know, so I decided I wanted to do something else. And I was a Christian for all my life. I always knew that maybe I should connect with God more, whether that was prayer or reading the Bible. I tried doing those two things, but it just didn't really motivate me. And then all of a sudden, I went to this men's retreat because after dropping out of graduate school and temping for a couple months, I felt like I didn't really have any business being in the professional world of being a chemist. I was contracting as a lab technician, a couple levels below a chemist, and I'm searching for all these different opportunities only to come up, at the very last round of interviews and then get an email from whatever HR lady it's from saying, oh, yeah, we gave the job to somebody else, but here's some feedback. And the feedback was always different, so I knew it wasn't that I didn't have the right skill set, because if I didn't have the right skill set, I think all of those interviewers, would have given me similar feedback to that as to why I didn't get the job. But it's all in the past, and I was really happy with my first day of work, which is good. So it's for a smaller company. It doesn't pay uh, that much. I mean, it's about 45K, but you know what? Coming out of temping, it's like my lifestyle sort of adjusted to 15 an hour. So I mean, to put 45K in perspective, it's double what I'd be making contracting. So I'm thankful for that. I feel like I'm in the right direction. And but back to um, how I got out of this rut is, I made myself more accountable in the sense of making more meaningful relationships. So I started going to this small group on Tuesdays for Bible study, and it really changed my perspective on, what's the most valuable thing in your life. And for me, it's like, well, it's the time that I have, and how can I use what I'm given in life to, make an impact for people that really need it. And yeah, so a lot of this time after college was like kind of getting to grips, like what was my purpose, being born into this world. It's like, sure, I was born into Um, Probably the best lifestyle in my opinion. That essentially is growing up in a suburb. Um, Parents are mostly able to financially support you through every endeavor that you have. Um, then again, it's like you're not a rich kid who's gonna be taken advantage of by his friends, or have a hard time forming relationships because of all the wealth that you have behind you. So I think I got the best luck growing up in a suburban community. Had a lot of great friends um, with similar values. Um, but then again, it's like you get lost in the day in and day out of life, and you forget to stop. You forget to ask yourself each day, what am I waking up for? What am I doing? Sort of waking up. One of those interview questions is, what motivates you each day? And it's like the first time that I was asked that, I really had to take a step back and be like, oh, whoa, what motive? You know what? I don't know what motive. And the interviewer is looking at me like, what? You don't know what motivates? And to be honest, it's like that wasn't really a question that I had to come to grips with because of, growing up in a comfortable house with loving parents. My parents are married. Um, Both loved each other deeply and, showed us that same amount of love. They always put us first, whether it was, making sure that we're at sporting events on time or, making sure our lunches are packed. We were very coddled as kids, and even going into the young adult years. Like I didn't do my own college application. I mean, my mom did it. Um, so some of that feeling of being lost is maybe walking a path that's sort of set in front of me, rather than trying to figure out or asking harder questions. With a support system, you are able to forego some of those harder level challenges that other people face. But I think that year after college really helped me understand. Um, Number one, the opportunity isn't just going to serve itself up on a plate to you. You got to go out there and get it. And for the most part, I thought I had that down because I went to college. I enrolled to get a degree in chemistry, which is tough. And then I also worked weekends, and then I also did extracurricular uh, activities at college. I formed this chemical society group that was affiliated with ACS along with 3 other students. Um, but yeah, it's been a ride, um, especially this commute. My commute is about 40 minutes, maybe 35 minutes on a light traffic day. Um, but yeah, so things are looking up. Um, Feeling motivated. Starting out low on the totem pole, but I have other plans that I'm aspiring to. One of those is figuring out how to invest my money um, for as much gain as I can get. Whether that's in stocks, whether it's in bonds. Trying to understand how do I leverage today's uh, stock market to my own advantage. Um, And then eventually, it's like a couple of years down the line, I really want to get into real estate, mostly because I'm looking at all of these tax breaks that they get, on owning various properties, and it's like I've seen some stories on this website called Bigger Pockets. I think it's like the largest website for real estate investors. But I mean, I'm seeing posts after posts and stories of people that are, maybe making close to six figures, if not um, closer to like 70, 80, and they're getting all of these tax write-offs, and you know, they're they're able to reinvest their money that would have just been taken from them by the government and funneled into other areas that the government deems fit to use money on. And it just sort of amazed me, doing some research into, you know, the reason why, these billionaires and millionaires get so wealthy is not because they start out, I mean, granted, yeah, there's inherited wealth and stuff, but I mean, I've seen so many, the American dream stories happening in real estate because these people are move themselves over from the employee wage slave mentality. Oh well, you know, can't do anything else with my money other than give it to the government. And it's like, well, I'm looking at this whole scheme, and it's like, yeah, the tax-paying base is mainly middle class because those people aren't able to, not able to. I mean, I think if you're able to put enough heads together and have enough people on the same page, it's like you can, and if you have that support system in place, it's like you can leverage all of the money that you make as a family and try to go into real estate that way. Um, but it's like I'm looking at the number one way to keep my money, and it's like, well, the easiest thing is to just try to keep the government's hands off of it. So I really started looking into, you know, what what does a timeline look like for real estate investing, you know, and then like how much time am I going to dedicate? How good is good enough for real estate? I don't have aspirations to take over an entire city or be a huge name real estate investor, but it's like I just want to be able to make enough money where I can sustain myself and maybe a family of 6 or 7 people. Um, be able to have that free time to go and do whatever it is that I want, whether it's being involved in church, um, doing overseas missions trips, which I think would be phenomenal. That's something that I definitely want to do. Um, or, you know, building my own gym or recreation complex and then monetizing that. I think that would be, I love basketball. That's the sport that I fell in love with growing up. I also weightlift. Do all the lifting except for lower back and legs. Uh, it's kind of funny because uh, just the way my muscles are in my legs. Um, I just have large muscle bellies, so it's like I almost look bottom heavy whenever I spend the same amount of time working on upper body as I did with lower body, which is you know typically what most high school weight room instructors will tell you. Um, but yeah, I mean, other than that, about all that's going on. Um, I recently started uh, this church course about exploring the concept of the Gospel of Mark, and I had my girlfriend. Oh, so back to my close friend met as a girl. After doing my fasting and doing all of these things that the Lord asks of His followers to do to be more intimate in their relationship with Him. I fasted for one day, and I was just like, you know what, Lord, it's like here's my prayer for this fast that I'm going to do. It's like I really need you to come into my friend's life and show her, there is a place for you in God's kingdom, and not only in God's kingdom, but having a life of purpose on this earth. And she ended up having a vision, I think, a couple days later, a vision of Jesus just looking at her. Um, she woke up to, she gets it's kind of interesting because she gets these sleep paralysis uh, moments on a nightly basis, several times a week. And it was interesting because when she had that vision of Jesus, right before she had it, she was in sleep paralysis and she could see this black blob, hovering around her, and she had no idea if it was a man or some sort of She thought it was a man, which was kind of interesting. But ultimately, she had this vision of Jesus, and as soon as she had it, she said that his face was so bright, and it was kind of interesting because she started describing, um, what he looked like, and I I used to go on YouTube all the time and see what these people had to say about their visions with Jesus, and a lot of them were like, oh, he had medium length hair, he had a beard, his skin was very, I think it was olive or, very, it was darker. So, I mean, you think of Semitic looking people, which is what Jesus was. I mean, also depending on the area, it's like he could have been dark in complexion. Um, but Julia couldn't tell, but she said that he was wearing a white robe, and I was like, no way. 'Cause she had no idea who Jesus was. I'm explaining to her, I mean, here's her knowledge level. It's like, she didn't know who Adam and Eve were. I'm like, you don't know who Adam and Eve are? And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's actually people, and it just goes to show, living in the United States of America in 2019, it's like when people think of America, they think of it as a Christian majority, free capitalism uh, country, and it's like, well, the free capitalism might still be there. I mean, we'll see with all these socialist Democrats, coming up and gaining popularity. But it's like the Christian America of image. It's going away. It's like this girl. She also grew up in the same city as me. We were 2 years apart, so I'm 2 years older than her. Didn't really know her until I met her working at the Cheesecake Factory, and so it's just so crazy. And so that was the level of knowledge that she had with the Bible and Christianity. And when she had her vision, she was like, that has to be that guy that you were talking about, that died for my sins. She was just like, I could just feel this love and um, compassion for me, and I was like, this is insane. Are you kidding me? It was kind of funny because you think of if you consider God in the entirety of all the Scripture, and you believe everything that's been said. Jesus rose from the dead. God consumed cities in Sodom and Gomorrah and sulfur and brimstone, and it's like, you know what? I think my prayer was probably a soft talk to God. It's like, hey, well, you need to explain this to Julia, because it's like you think about visions and stuff, and it's like, for me, I was just like, that stuff only happened in the Bible. It's like, I don't think it happens anymore. Yeah, I hear all these arguments like, oh, well, the Bible's digital. It's all digital now. It's like you can send an email to people overseas, and they can read it that way. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, sure, technology has definitely been a much faster vehicle for the Bible, but it's like there's still people out there, that have technology or all of this stuff, but it's just, I mean, with all that broadband, it's just clogged up by all of the garbage going on in the world, whether it's entertainment, whether it's the news, whether it's sports, whether it's um, social media or financial gurus telling you how to make money. Um, but it's like, it really helped me in my own faith because I realized, like, yeah, I mean, God is still, he's not dead, he's alive. So definitely shed some light on my own life. It's like, well, there's some rooms in my life where it's like I never ever let God step into. A lot of, and one of those areas was, my addiction to porn, to put it straight and simply. And it's like, to be honest, I think about what porn has done to my life, and it was this moment of satisfaction for a lifetime of unrealistic expectations of women.